Did you know that the air inside your home could be silently aging you, without you even realizing it? Experts have found that indoor air can actually be up to 5 times more polluted than the air outside. And here's the part most seniors don't hear about. After 60, our sense of smell naturally dulls. That means odors build up, but we stop noticing them, even as they quietly affect our lungs, energy, and confidence. Think about this for a second. When was the last time you stepped outside, came back in, and really noticed what your home smells like? Or has your nose adapted so much that you can't even tell anymore? Now picture this. A friend or relative comes to visit. The door opens, and before they even say hello, they're greeted by a smell that you've grown used to. Maybe it's musty furniture, last night's meal, or something you can't even name. It's not just about comfort. It's about health, pride, and making sure your home tells the story you want it to. Stick with me, because I'm about to show you simple odor killers that protect your air and your well-being. And while we're here together, tap like and subscribe so you never miss out on powerful ways to keep your home and body feeling fresh and strong. Meet Gertrude Maye, a lively 73-year-old with a heart as warm as the Florida sun she lives under. Gertrude's apartment isn't just a place to sleep, it's her sanctuary, filled with the gentle reminders of a life well lived. She has her late husband's favorite armchair in the corner, a bookshelf stacked with cookbooks and mysteries, and walls decorated with family photos and her own hand-woven tapestries. The smell of cinnamon often lingers from her baking, and there's always a cozy throw blanket draped over the sofa, just in case a neighbor or friend stops by for tea. Gertrude is the kind of person everyone in her building knows and loves, the one who always remembers birthdays and has a kind word for the mailman. But here's the part of Gertrude's story she didn't see coming. Over time, her beloved home began to carry hidden odors she had grown completely blind to. Like many seniors, Gertrude's sense of smell had gently faded, little by little, without her noticing. What once would have caught her attention, a trace of mustiness after a rainy day, or the stale air in a closed-up guest room, simply blended into the background. Her home still felt like a safe, welcoming space to her. But something subtle had changed. It wasn't until her granddaughter, Mia, visited that Gertrude became aware. Mia, just 16, was polite and cheerful as always. But after a few minutes inside, she quietly suggested, "Grandma, can we sit out on the balcony for a while? It feels a little stuffy in here." That comment echoed in Gertrude's mind long after Mia had gone home. She began to worry. Was this what others experienced when they came over? Was her cozy apartment silently turning into a space people felt uncomfortable in? Gertrude's experience is more common than many realize. Our homes hold so many memories and comforts, but they can also trap odors that build up slowly over the years. And often, by the time we notice, it's already shaped how others experience our space. Today, Gertrude is ready to share the simple odor killers that helped her reclaim her fresh, inviting home, and maybe they'll help you too. Because a home should tell the story of who you are, not what's lingering in the air. Odor killer number 1, the trash can trap. Let's begin with one of the most overlooked odor culprits in any senior's home, the trash can trap. You might think, oh, I empty my bin regularly. That can't be my problem. But here's the uncomfortable truth that often surprises people over 60. No matter how often you take out the trash, odors can build up in places you're not seeing, like the creases of your liner, the hidden drips at the bottom, or even tiny spills that dry up under the can without you noticing. These smells don't just sit quietly in the bin. They slowly leak into your kitchen's air, blending in so gradually that you stop noticing. But your guests? They smell it the moment they step inside. That's exactly what happened to Gertrude Maye. One afternoon, Gertrude was feeling proud. She had spent the morning tidying up, polishing her countertops, sweeping the floor, and even lighting a scented candle. When her neighbor popped by to drop off a borrowed casserole dish, Gertrude welcomed her in with a smile. They chatted for a bit, but then came that dreaded pause. Her neighbor sniffed the air and hesitated before saying, "Did something spoil in here? I thought I smelled maybe old fruit." Gertrude's heart sank. She had emptied the trash that morning, but that question stayed with her long after the neighbor left. Determined to get to the bottom of it, Gertrude took a closer look. That's when she noticed. Tiny leaks had pooled at the bottom of her bin. The inside walls were sticky from weeks of use, and even the bag itself smelled faintly sour. It wasn't the trash that was the issue, it was the can itself. So what did she do? Gertrude discovered a simple, natural fix that worked wonders. She filled a spray bottle with equal parts white vinegar and water, added a few peels from a fresh orange, and let it sit overnight. Now, after every bag change, she gives the bin a light spritz and wipe. The vinegar neutralizes bacteria that cause odor, and the orange peel adds a light, natural scent that makes the kitchen feel fresh without chemicals. She also started lining the bottom of the can with a few layers of newspaper to catch any leaks before they could soak in. And here's her clever time-saving trick. She tucks a roll of spare liners at the bottom of the bin so she never forgets to replace the bag right away. Have you ever had a trash odor creep up on you without warning? Share your best trick in the comments. We're all learning from each other here. And don't go anywhere, because the next odor killer tackles a smell that hides in plain sight, right under your nose. Odor killer number 2, the sofa and curtain sneak attack. Now let's talk about an odor culprit that hides in plain sight. One most seniors never suspect until it's already taken over. The sofa and curtain sneak attack. We all have that favorite chair or cozy couch. The one that's seen countless movie nights, afternoon naps, and quiet moments with a cup of tea. And those soft curtains gently swaying in the breeze. They've framed years of sunrises and sunsets. But here's what often gets missed. These beloved fabrics act like sponges. Over time, they soak up cooking smells, moisture from humid days, and even a bit of dust that drifts in through open windows. Because the change happens so gradually, we stop noticing. But fresh noses, like a guest or grandchild visiting, pick up on it right away. That's exactly what happened to Gertrude Maye. After a heavy storm the year before, her apartment had stayed a little damp for a few days. She thought nothing of it at the time. After all, she'd mopped up, cracked a window, and everything seemed fine. But those few days of moisture were enough to leave a faint mustiness clinging to the cushions and curtains. Gertrude didn't notice. That is, until her niece Mia came to visit. As Mia settled onto the couch, Gertrude saw her wrinkle her nose just slightly, glancing around as if trying to figure out what she was smelling. That tiny reaction was all it took. Gertrude felt a twinge of embarrassment. This was her favorite spot in the house, and now she worried that it was giving the wrong impression. Determined to freshen up, Gertrude found a gentle, chemical-free solution that worked like magic. First, she mixed up a light baking soda mist. 1 tablespoon of baking soda dissolved in a cup of warm water with a few drops of lavender essential oil. She lightly sprayed it onto her sofa cushions and curtain hems, not soaking them, just a fine mist to neutralize odors where they lived. Then, on sunny mornings, she'd open all the windows wide and pull the curtains aside so both the fabric and the couch could bask in natural light. Sunlight does more than brighten a room. It actually helps kill odor-causing bacteria trapped in fabrics. Within days, Gertrude's living room felt like new. The stale, stormy smell was gone, replaced by the soft scent of lavender and fresh air. And best of all, Mia noticed, this time smiling and saying, "Your place always smells so clean, Grandma." Do you have a favorite old chair or couch that's part of your home story? Share it in the comments. Let's celebrate the pieces that make our spaces special. And stay with me, because the next odor killer target's a hidden smell lurking where you store your food. Odor killer number 3, the fridge funk. Let's move on to an odor that sneaks up on even the cleanest homes, the fridge funk. Now, this is one that can catch you completely off guard. You might be diligent about tossing out leftovers and wiping up spills, but somehow, that sneaky smell still finds a way to linger inside your fridge. For seniors like Gertrude, this odor can build slowly, especially when your sense of smell isn't what it used to be. It starts as a faint mix of yesterday's dinner, a forgotten piece of fruit at the back, or a tiny spill that dried unnoticed under the crisper drawer. Over time, that smell blends into the background for you, but not for your guests. That's exactly what happened to Gertrude Maye one hot afternoon. Her neighbor and granddaughter stopped by for a visit, and Gertrude, always the gracious host, offered them a cold drink. She opened the fridge, reached for the lemonade, and that's when it hit her. A wave of sour, stale air escaped as the door swung open. Her granddaughter glanced at the fridge, then quickly looked away, trying not to react. Gertrude felt a flush of embarrassment. She'd just cleaned the fridge the week before. Or had it been longer? She couldn't even remember. But now she realized something had been lurking in there. Unnoticed by her, but not by others. Determined not to let that happen again, Gertrude tried a simple, natural odor killer trick that worked wonders. She placed a small bowl of dry coffee grounds on the top shelf of her fridge. Coffee grounds are like little odor magnets. They quietly absorb smells without adding any artificial scent. She also tucked a few strips of fresh lemon peel behind the milk jug and in the vegetable drawer. The lemon added a light, clean aroma that made opening the fridge feel refreshing rather than embarrassing. The best part? These odor absorbers are easy to hide, so guests won't even notice them. They'll just notice how fresh your fridge smells. Gertrude made it a habit to replace the coffee grounds and lemon peel every 2 weeks. And the difference was incredible. Have you ever opened your fridge and been surprised by an unexpected smell? Tell us in the comments. What's your go-to trick for keeping it fresh? And don't go anywhere, because coming up is the odor that doesn't just bother your nose. If left unchecked, it could actually harm your lungs. Odor killer number 4, the towel and laundry hamper danger. Let's shine a light on an odor danger that quietly builds up where you least expect it: your towels and laundry hamper. Now, it's easy to think, my towels are clean, I just use them after my shower. But here's what many seniors, including Gertrude Maye, didn't realize until it was too late. Damp towels and dirty laundry can trap moisture deep in the fibers. That dampness creates the perfect breeding ground for mold spores and bacteria. The smell might start as something faint, a bit of sourness or mustiness you barely notice. But left unchecked, that odor seeps into your bathroom, your bedroom, and even your closets. And beyond just making your home smell stale, it can quietly harm your lungs over time, especially for seniors, whose respiratory systems may already be more sensitive. Gertrude learned this the hard way. Always thoughtful about saving energy and water, she had gotten into the habit of using the same bath towel for a week. After all, she figured, it's just me using it, and I'm clean when I dry off. What she didn't realize was that every time she hung that towel back up, tiny bits of moisture stayed trapped in the thick fabric. And because her bathroom didn't have great ventilation, that dampness didn't fully dry out between uses. One day, as she was folding laundry, Gertrude caught a whiff of something sour, not overpowering, but definitely not fresh. She sniffed the towel pile and realized the smell was coming from her so-called clean towels and even the laundry hamper where she'd tossed clothes after gardening. Determined to freshen things up, Gertrude tried a natural and effective fix. First, she ran her towels through a wash with a vinegar rinse. Just half a cup of white vinegar added during the rinse cycle. Vinegar breaks down the bacteria and mold that cause those sour odors without leaving behind any chemical residue. Then, when drying, she added a few drops of lavender essential oil to a wool dryer ball, so the towels came out soft and lightly scented. Finally, Gertrude changed her habit. She now airs her towels fully after each use, spreading them wide rather than leaving them bunched, and swaps them out every 3 to 4 days instead of stretching to a week. The difference? Her bathroom smells fresh, and she feels confident knowing her linens aren't hiding anything unhealthy. How often do you swap out your towels? Be honest, comment below. Let's see who's brave enough to share. Stick around, because next we tackle an odor that many seniors can't even smell anymore, but visitors sure can. Odor killer number 5, the pet odor you can't smell anymore. Now let's talk about one of the most surprising sources of hidden odors, our beloved pets. If you're a senior with a furry companion, you already know how much joy they bring. Gertrude Maye sure did. Her sweet cat, Pudding, was her constant friend, always curling up by her feet during quiet afternoons, purring on her lap during her knitting, and greeting her at the door with a soft meow. But as much as Gertrude adored Pudding, she didn't realize that her home had started to carry what visitors politely called a pet smell. You see, when you live with a pet every day, your nose adjusts. That faint odor of fur, the scent of an old cat bed, or the dusty smell of pet-dappled carpet. You stop noticing. Gertrude certainly had. She vacuumed weekly, kept pudding well-groomed, and thought she was doing everything right. But one afternoon, her friend came over for tea. As they settled in, her friend chuckled gently and said, "Pudding looks sweet, but his bed? That's another story." Gertrude felt her heart sink. She hadn't smelled a thing. Determined to freshen things up, Gertrude discovered a safe, simple solution that worked wonders without exposing pudding or herself to harsh chemicals. First, she made a DIY pet-safe carpet powder by mixing baking soda with a few drops of pet-safe essential oil, like chamomile or rosemary. She sprinkled this lightly over her rugs and let it sit for 20 minutes before vacuuming thoroughly. The baking soda gently absorbed lingering odors without irritating pudding's paws or nose. Next, she tackled the cat bed, the real culprit. Gertrude switched to a washable pet bed cover, something she could easily toss into the washing machine every 2 weeks. She added a splash of white vinegar to the wash cycle to break down odor-causing bacteria, followed by a rinse with her usual mild detergent. Once dry, the bed smelled clean and fresh, and pudding didn't seem to mind a bit. This simple routine made all the difference. Now when guests walk into Gertrude's home, they're greeted by the scent of fresh air and maybe a hint of lavender, not the uninvited reminder of a pet who's made the house his kingdom. Do you share your home with a furry friend? What's your best trick for keeping pet odors in check? Share it in the comments. Pudding would approve. And stick around, because odor killer number 6 is the one that makes guests quietly crack open a window when they think you're not looking. Odor killer number 6, the stale air in closed rooms. Let's talk about a sneaky odor that builds up so quietly. You don't even realize it's there until someone else does. The stale air in closed-up rooms. Many seniors, including Gertrude Maye, don't think much about that one guest room or spare space that's rarely used. After all, the door stays shut. It's neat and clean, and no one goes in there much. But that's exactly how the problem starts. Gertrude's guest room was once the heart of joyful chaos. Her grandkids would come during the summer, filling it with laughter, toys, and giggles long into the night. But as they grew older and visits became less frequent, the room stayed quiet, too quiet. The windows stayed closed. The air inside stopped moving. Over time, what was once a fresh and cozy space took on a smell that reminded Gertrude of an old attic, stale, dry, and just a little dusty. She didn't notice at first, but one afternoon, while giving a neighbor a quick house tour, she opened the door and was greeted by that distinct, closed-up room smell. Her neighbor didn't say a word, but Gertrude saw the polite smile and knew instantly her once-loved room had become a forgotten space, at least in terms of air freshness. Determined to restore its former charm, Gertrude turned to 2 simple solutions: cross-ventilation and indoor plants. First, she opened both the window and the bedroom door to let fresh air sweep through the space. But she didn't stop there. On nice days, she'd also open a window at the other end of her apartment. This created a gentle breeze that carried out stale air and brought in a clean, natural scent. Then Gertrude added life to the room, literally. She placed a peace lily in one corner and a snake plant on the nightstand. Both are low maintenance and known for their natural ability to purify indoor air. Over just a few weeks, the difference was remarkable. The guest room no longer felt forgotten. It felt lived in, loved, and ready for the grandkids' next visit. Do you keep a room closed up in your home? What's it for? Share your story in the comments. We'd love to know. And don't go anywhere. The final odor killer tackles a culprit that's right under your nose, or rather, your feet. Odor killer number 7, the old shoes at the door. Let's wrap up with one of the most overlooked sources of hidden odors, the old shoes at the door. Now, if you're like Gertrude Maye, you take pride in keeping a neat and tidy entryway. Gertrude always lined up her shoes carefully. Her gardening sneakers, her walking sandals, her cozy house slippers, all arranged in a perfect row by the door. To her, it was a sign of order and readiness. But what she didn't realize was that this tidy row of footwear had become a quiet source of odor that guests picked up on the moment they stepped inside. You see, shoes are sneaky. Over time, Even clean feet leave behind tiny traces of sweat that sink into the insoles. Combined with the natural moisture we pick up from grass, sidewalks, or rain, that dampness creates the perfect environment for bacteria to thrive. And bacteria? That's where the odor comes from. Seniors like Gertrude, who spend a lot of time indoors and may not rotate shoes as often, are especially vulnerable to this problem. The worst part? You might not notice because your nose has adapted, but your visitors definitely do. So what did Gertrude do? She found a brilliantly simple solution that's safe, inexpensive, and incredibly effective. First, she slipped dry tea bags into each pair of shoes. One bag per shoe, tucked deep into the toe where it can work its magic overnight. Tea leaves are natural odor absorbers. They gently pull moisture and scent out of fabric and leather without adding any artificial smell. Gertrude kept a small box of tea bags by the door and swapped them out once a week for best results. Next, she started giving her shoes a little fresh air. On sunny mornings, she'd place them outside for an hour or two. The sun's natural heat helped dry out any lingering dampness, and the breeze carried away stale odors. It was a simple habit that made a world of difference. No more embarrassment, no more quiet comments, just a fresh, clean welcome for every guest. Do you have a favorite pair of shoes you wear all the time? How do you keep them smelling fresh? Share your tip in the comments. We're all in this together. But what truly changed Gertrude's home forever wasn't just these odor-fighting tricks. It was the powerful realization she made next, and you won't want to miss it. Gertrude Maye's journey to reclaiming her home wasn't about expensive products, fancy gadgets, or overwhelming chores. It was about small, mindful changes, simple steps that together made a world of difference. Today, when Gertrude opens her door, what greets her isn't the worry of what others might think. It's the clean, light scent of a space that feels loved and lived in. Her living room no longer carries a hint of must or stale air. The kitchen smells fresh, not of old trash or hidden fridge funk. The guest room is ready at a moment's notice, filled with air that feels as inviting as the memories once made there. Even Pudding's cozy bed, once a quiet source of odor, is now as fresh as Gertrude's favorite quilt. For Gertrude, the change was more than just eliminating smells. It was about confidence. No more second-guessing when a friend or neighbor pops by. No more wondering if the house smells as good as it looks. Now, Gertrude hosts her knitting group without hesitation, offers her guests lemonade straight from a fresh-smelling fridge, and proudly shows off the guest room to visiting family. She feels lighter, happier, even healthier, because what we breathe in every day shapes how we feel. And Gertrude has discovered the joy of breathing easier in a home she loves. And that's the heart of it. These little changes protect more than just your home's air. They protect your health, your peace of mind, and your sense of pride. You don't need to overhaul your entire life. A few easy habits, sprinkling tea bags in shoes, airing out a room, misting a couch with baking soda solution, can transform your space into one that tells the story you want it to. If this helped you, do one more small thing right now. Hit that like button, subscribe, and share this video with a friend or loved one who deserves a fresh start in their home too. Together, we can create spaces that feel just as good as they look. And make sure that the only thing guests remember about your home is how warm and welcoming it felt. Your home deserves to be a place where you can breathe easy. Let's make it happen.